Good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here. And let's wake up those football gods this morning. You know, I had to record this a couple of times this morning because I started out, Joe Boo wasn't up there, and that was because Tony Daniels actually was in town because of his son just graduated, and they're doing kind of a bucket list before he joins the Navy. And so they were visiting museums and things like that. And he said, hey, he said, do you have one of the big butcher blocks? You know, he wanted a 24 by 12. And I did a couple of videos actually and put them on my other channel on actually how I make those and made it for him. And him and his family came by. And, you know, I've been, of course, dealing with the knee injury and stuff. And I was a terrible host. I should have actually sat down there and got his thoughts and stuff while he was here on the Dallas Cowboys and things. So we got a couple of pictures and stuff. So I took Joe Boo down. And so this morning it's like, oh, damn. I messed it up. So shout out to you, Tony Daniels. I'm glad your daughter is feeling better, and it was great meeting you guys, and I hope that you get plenty of use out of that cutting board. So let's get going here with the Dallas Cowboys. We sit right now, as of this moment, 74 days, 10 hours, 17 minutes, and 40 seconds away from kickoff against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm going to be bold, and I'm going to say that the Dallas Cowboys get a win there. I know I'm going to be crazy. I'll get ridiculed, but that's what always happens. Everybody says I'm crazy, I'm nuts, you know, but that's cool. That's cool. I've said a lot of things that people have told me I'm an idiot for, and yet I'm still here. And those ones that said I was an idiot, like MC George, they don't come around no more because they were the ones that were wrong. So our Dallas Cowboys, we've had a great, actually, offseason. You know, we'll see how all of the parts and stuff that the Cowboys got come together as a team. We had literally Stephen A. Smith's perfect storm of what could go wrong, would go wrong last year, where literally we lost a quarterback. And generally speaking, when you lose the quarterback, your season is done. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you have a franchise quarterback and you lose them, your chances of succeeding are slim and none. But not only that, we ended up having our offensive line in flux where we just never got out the gate. We had a whole new defense with players that underperformed. I mean, it was bad, historically bad. And literally, you don't ever expect that many things to go wrong in a season. The chances of that happening are not really good. But the Cowboys went through, they dissected the body. They looked at everything and said, okay, what are the number one priorities on this team? Okay, what are the things that we have to make sure we have? And the first thing they said was, we've got to have our quarterback. So they got Dak Prescott on their contract. The next thing they said, we've got to look at the health of our offensive line. Okay, our offensive line's got to be better. And if it's not, we've got to bring in people. So, you know, they were hopeful on Lyle Collins, Tyron Smith, and everything else. And they also brought in Ty Nsekhe, who is, you know, a veteran, you know, a swing tackle, a guy just in case. They said our defense was ass, okay? It was ass. Let's be clear. You know, all those people that want to say, well, Cowboys weren't winning with Dak Prescott. When you give up 472 points in a season, 472, literally 36 points more than you ever have in your worst season, you cannot expect to win very many games. You just can't. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to sugarcoat that, but our defense was so lost, dazed and confused that you had little chance. So they've realized we've got to make a change at the coach, and we've got to make a change in some of the players. They bring in a new guy in Dan Quinn. They come in with a new philosophy. Actually, not really a new philosophy. This is kind of what Mike McCarthy wanted to do on the defensive end with this hybrid defense. But you've got a guy who's better at teaching. So they did that. Then they went out to get the pieces that fit the puzzle through free agency, going for guys like Urban and things like that, and going through and drafting as much as they did on the defense. So they looked and he said, we got to address the defense. And then they looked at it and said, we've got to be healthy. Now, for the most part, the Cowboys have been pretty good at training camp with having people healthy. The only concern has been really is Amari Cooper's ankle. Amari Cooper had a clean-out surgery back in January that was thought to be no big deal. That lingered through OTAs and minicamp. And then we hear that it was going to be lingering into possibly training camp. I had a clean-out surgery on my knee. Okay, basically, I had a flap of my meniscus. I had a complex tear, and what that means is when they say complex, that means it's complicated. There's more than one. If it's just a single tear, okay, no big deal. They just smooth it out. Complex, it's going two different directions. So my two different directions left a flap of the meniscus that was just kind of going around. Sometimes it would go around, get up under the knee bone and things like that and cause the knee more pain or to lock up or to jump out of socket. So they went in, trimmed it, smoothed it out, cleaned it up. For me, today is Sunday, and I had the surgery on Wednesday. I have more movement. I have more movement in my leg now than before the surgery. To me, it's freaking amazing. I'm not equating myself with, being an NFL player right now, but this clean out surgery for me, 5 days later, I am walking without crutches. I am able to bend further than I could before, and I'm not taking pain meds. And so the healing process of that is actually going really, really well. But again, it wasn't like I got an ACL replaced or, that there was structural damage. This was a cleanup surgery. And we'll see how it goes. I've got physical therapy that's supposed to start on July 7th. To be quite frank with you, I'm sitting here Wednesday. I go see the doctor, get the stitches out. More than likely, because I'm beginning to stretch it and start to exercise it and things like that, I may be further ahead than actually needing the physical therapy because it's going that well. So this, in my mind, had brought in a question of Amari Cooper's ankle. Was there more to it than what we were let on? Amari Cooper's had all kinds of issues with the plantar fasciitis and so on. But I'm glad to say that yesterday he was posting some pictures from Instagram that actually make me feel a whole lot better. Yeah, one, Amari Cooper is so low key. I think you almost have to check Amari Cooper's pulse. When we were at an autograph signing show a few years back in Chantilly and meeting Amari Cooper, he is very soft-spoken, very, very quiet, and I would say an introvert. Now, here's what I love seeing. You see the skinny shoes here? Skinny shoes and everything else? His foot's in there. He don't look like he's in any pain whatsoever. He looks, in fact, stylish. I actually love the look on there. So that to me is a great signal. Look at that. Got his kicks on. Look at that. My man looking stylish, looking fresh, looking great. For me, that kind of makes me feel better about where he is getting ready for the season. The thing about Amari Cooper, and this is where I kind of wonder, you have certain kind of people. Nobody is exactly the same. You have some guys that are practice warriors, man. They go through practice. They look perfect. You know what I mean? They look great. And you say, man, that guy, ooh. But then they get the nerves when it comes to game time. That guy that throws up on the field, because he can't handle the pressure. Right? Then you get guys that, aren't real practice guys.
We're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we're talking about practice. Not a game. We're talking about practice.
We're talking about practice that are not practice guys and don't necessarily look good at practice. Gary Clark, who went to JMU, USFL standout, and played for the Washington football team, getting at least one ring with them, was one of those guys that it seemed like he was always injured during the week. And they always questioned if he was going to actually be able to play. But come Sunday, he was always ready to rock and roll. He was always playing lights out and doing terrible things to my Dallas Cowboys. Amari Cooper is that kind of guy. And it seems like every offseason, there's always been some kind of an issue with Amari Cooper going into training camp. I don't know if this is Amari Cooper just doesn't like practice or if there really are things that are in there. But I don't think we have to worry about Amari Cooper being ready for the season. The fact that Amari Cooper came from the Raiders, where everybody said he had checked out, wasn't really dedicated to football and so on, in the middle of the season, immediately picked up with Dak Prescott and turned his numbers around. And every year having this issue of not being able to really work out fully in training camp goes to show you the connection between Dak and Amari Cooper. And sometimes that is bigger than anything else. That basically, it's like a spider sense or a sixth sense that you have and connection that you have with players that you automatically know where they're going to be and what you're going to do. Tony Romo and Des Bryant had that kind of a repertoire where Tony Romo could be hurt, recovering in the offseason or Des. But as soon as they got back on the field, boom, that connection was always right there. And so that makes me feel good about Amari Cooper. One, like I said, seeing him out and about, styling and everything else, doesn't look like he's got a care in the world. That to me says, you know what, I'm feeling good. I'm going to be ready. They may take it easy on him in training camp, knowing the situations that they've had, but I feel good with it. The funny thing with Cowboy fans or fans in general is everybody equates everything to money. So many times we look at Amari Cooper, we look at Michael Gallop, and we say we have to have one or the other. We'll just make Michael Gallop a number one, although I don't think Michael Gallup's necessarily a number one, or Amari Cooper makes too much money. You know what? The reality is they're going to get paid and deserve to get paid for what they do. To think about every offseason, I've got to go through and get a cleanup surgery. I got to go through rehab. I'm getting needles punched, into my lungs for painkillers. The work of trying to stay there and perform, the pain that they go through, they deserve every penny that they get. And the thing that's crazy to me is with our team and our fan base, when we have things that work well, we turn around and say, oh, trade that and we'll fix this. Trade Michael Gallup so we can get a defense. The fuck? Let Amari Cooper go, man. He makes too much money. The fuck? Wait a minute. If you dissect last year, one of the only things that was working was the wide receiver group. And understand that you can take one player, and I always hate to use Alvin Harper, but I look at Alvin Harper when he was here with Dallas, okay, with Michael Irvin on the other side, with Troy Aikman throwing to him, the Great Wall of Dallas blocking for Emmitt Smith. Alvin Harper was great. He was great because of all of the things that were around him. When you put him in a different situation where he doesn't have a great quarterback throwing to him, when there's not somebody else taking the focus off of him, his play went downhill. And that would be the case with the Dallas Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb, coming out as a rookie, had the perfect situation. You already had Michael Gallup, who's a deep threat. You had Amari Cooper, who people know he's perfect at running routes. There's not enough guys to cover me and double team me. So I can kind of get my feet wet and get myself, used to the NFL because of what the attention that's happening with Amari Cooper. You take that away, and all of a sudden teams are now focused on CeeDee Lamb. You'll see his numbers, statistics go down, as well as Michael Gallup's. So it shouldn't be an and or. And we have to stop this whole thing of saying, oh, we got something that works. Let's trade it because we'll be able to do something else with it. Trades very rarely work out for the betterment for you. Very rarely. There are very few Herschel Walker deals where you got rid of one great player and a team was stupid enough to give you too much in return. It doesn't really happen. And the reality is if we're going to be successful this season, we need Amari Cooper to have a great season. We need Michael Gallup to have a great season. We need CeeDee Lamb. We need everybody to be at peak performance. And we need them all collectively to make that offense that much harder to stop. All right, y'all. You know the deal. I've been here talking too much, as always, but I appreciate each and every one of you guys listening. With that being said, I'm going to go wrap my knee and put some ice on it, and I will see you later. Our coach here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting,